Hey guys, and welcome to another video in my tutorial series. So, if you were here the last time, we were talking about the skeleton of C++ and some basic things you could do with C++. If you are new here, make sure you check the playlist and watch my previous videos to get more insights. So, we are going to talk about data types and variables today. I've opened my code blocks, which is the IDE we are using, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a new project. So as usual, console application. So you are going to make this lesson on data types. And variables. Now I'm going through this whole process again for those who weren't here or those who couldn't watch the previous videos. In the next videos, I'll just go straight to the point. So as you can see, we have the skeleton of the C++ programming language. We've already talked about that. So today we are just going to focus on data types and variables. So let me just remove all of this. Now, starting with variables, I like to explain variables using something I picked up when I was in a class. So think of variables like seats in a car. Now, think of the car as your C++ program. The car takes you where you want to go. So the car is basically what is doing the work. Now, take the seats in the car as the variables. The seats in the car contain people, as in they allow people to sit there. So they are allocated spaces meant for human beings. So that is exactly what variables are. Variables are allocated spaces in your programming language or in your code that can hold data. So they can hold any data you input there. So anything at all can be a variable. The word name could be a variable. The word verify could be a variable. Even an X could be a variable. A Y, anything could be a variable. So anything that can contain data in a C++ code is a variable. Now let's move on to data types. So now that we have, still going back to the metaphor we made about the seats in the same car with the same seats, we have different types of seats. We have the passenger seats, the driver seats, and even we have some modified seats, like the seats modified for babies, and maybe a particular seat is modified for someone in a wheelchair. So all these modifications and types of seats can be represented with a data type. Now, a variable can store any type of data, any type of information, but you need to specify the type of data you need to put there. Just like any seat can hold any person, but you need to specify which seat and which person corresponds to the seat. You can't put the person who is driving the car in the passenger seat. Neither can you put the passenger in the driver's seat. They have to correspond with the type of seat they are. Just like variables. Variables correspond to the data types you assign them to. So in C++, we have many data types, but we'll be focusing on 4 major data types or 5 major data types that you see often in your programming language. So first of all, we have the int data type. Now the int data type is just short for integer. This data type is mostly used to store numerical value, such as numbers. Yes, basically numbers. So it is designed to store numerical value, whole numbers. So if we specify the variable type, let's say we add the int to age. Now this variable we have here is a variable that can only take integers, that can only take whole numbers, positive and negative whole numbers. So we'll go to the last part about variables, that is assigning variables. For a variable to be in use, it has to be assigned. So we just assign it using the equal to symbol, which in programming is known as the assign symbol. So this assign symbol will assign this variable to what it is supposed to contain. Just like the seats in the car are assigned to specific people, this variable, this assign symbol here will assign the variable which the data is supposed to store. So we can input 6. So now anytime we see age in our programming language, the computer will know that it is 6. Now for C++, you can't use one integer, one variable multiple times. If you use this age integer for 6, you can never use this age integer for another data type. So just you have to keep or change the value when you want to use it. So that's it for assigning values. So let's proceed and talk about the other types of data, the other data types we have. So after talking about int, which is integer, we also have string. And we are going to assign that to the variable name. So with the string data type mostly or basically just takes words, words and sentences. So the string data type is responsible for storing words, whilst the int data type is supposed to store positive and negative whole numbers. So the string just does the words and sentence parts of variable of what variables do. So to assign this, there's just one peculiar thing about strings. To assign them to a variable, the variable has to be in parentheses. So we are going to put parentheses over here, and then we are going to assign the value Lloyd to it. So this variable is holding the data or the value Lloyd, and it's in parentheses. So this is a string. So we move on to floats. Now floats are responsible for storing decimals. Now they store multiple decimals. So it's the decimal points could continue, the decimal place could continue as far as it could or as far as you want it to. So floats store decimals, positive and negative decimals, not whole numbers, not as opposed to int, which stores positive and negative whole numbers. So you are going to make floats time, and we are going to assign it to 5.6678. It can go as far as you want it to go. So that's for the float. Now we are going to move on to another data type called the double. Now the double is just like the float. It also stores positive and negative decimals, but then it is rounded to a point. So it only has 4 decimal places. So let's say we have a double called height. We can only assign it to a decimal with 4 decimal places. So something like this. So that's for the double. And now to move on to the 5th most popular data type, we have the bool, also known as the boolean. Now this is a data type that determines that mostly deals with logic. It is to determine, it only stores true or false values. So for the bool, we are going to assign it with the variable correct. So it can only store a true or false value. So going over the whole thing, we have int. Int is a data type that stores negative and positive whole numbers. String is a data type that stores words and sentences. Float is a data type that stores decimals, positive and negative decimals, and can go as far from the decimal point as possible. And then we have doubles, which are kind of like floats but only store 4 to 4 decimal places. And we have bools, which store true or false values. Now going over the whole thing, we talked about variables and we talked about data types, and we use the metaphor or the analogy that variables are like seats in a car. They store information, they store data. they can be assigned to hold certain things, such that if you see the variable anywhere in the code, there will just be a representation of the value you stored in them. And now data types are to specify what type of data can be stored in what type of variable. For example, the int data type can store negative and positive whole numbers. So that is the type of data that can be stored in the variable that it is specified to. So that is all for today. We've successfully talked about variables and data types. And in our next video, we'll go deeper. And as usual, if you are interested in content like this, or you are interested in C++, make sure you like and you subscribe and hit that notification button for videos like this every week. And also, if you have any questions or problems, or there was an area you didn't understand, or you want me to go into something more in depth, just comment in the comment section. And yes, basically that's everything for today. Thank you very much. And this is Code with Lloyd.